All right.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, this is Phil Jansen. We're going to talk about discussion question for Chapter 9 today. Question says, examine the Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA. Your district has 2 teachers who are married and are expecting their first child together. The baby was normally delivered on April 27th. Discuss the number of days that both parents qualify for under FMLA. Do they both qualify? Can they take them simultaneously? Can the mother use hers followed by the father using his? Okay, so there's kind of 3 questions there. First, they both qualify to take that FMLA. Can they take them at the same time? And then the third question, can they take them, mother first and then father second? So I'll let one of you guys jump in first.
I'll kind of start with that. The key wording there says, this is Byron Dacey. They're talking about normally delivered, because FMLA does have other stipulations if the child has, like, let's say a birth defect and needs to be in the NICU, or it needs extra care outside of that normal birth. I actually personally experienced that with the birth of my first child. He had a birth defect and was in the NICU, supposed to be there for 3 weeks, but was fortunately out after 6 days. But I had to put in my FMLA to be out for that extended time just to care for him, the extra. So, but the first question, the number of days, from what we found on the FMLA website was that the parents get a combined 12 weeks, work weeks, that is, combined 12 work weeks of time off under FMLA.
And that's when, obviously, like the question says, they are both working for the same employer. That's different if they have 2 different employers, then they would both get 12 weeks. But since they're under the same employer, they get a combined 12 weeks.
Yeah, and the language that they use quite a bit, and some of that on the Department of Labor website, is that FMLA leave can be to bond with their child within that first year. Bonding was used quite in a lot of the literature that I read.
And that kind of answers that second question of, do they both qualify? And yes, both parents do qualify under FMLA for that that bonding time, like you said, Phil. I guess the next part of that question is, can the time be taken simultaneously?
From everything I saw, it looks like, yeah, they can definitely take that time simultaneously. And just a couple things to be careful of. It expires after 12 months of the date of birth. So you assume they're going to take that time, right after birth and shortly after birth, if they're taking it simultaneously at the same time. But just, be careful that it will expire after the first 12 months of birth. But unless you guys found something that said they did not take it.
I kind of read the similar things. The only thing I've seen is coworkers that have had a child and the mom goes, takes time off first and then the dad takes the time off after. So not really simultaneously, but they kind of split it up.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
Go ahead. Okay, I'll go. I also read that intermittent leave is subject to your employer, so they can decide if you can come and go. Which, when you're teaching, that's probably not very likely, because they'd want you, if you're going to take your leave, I would assume an administrator would want you to take your leave so they can hire a long-term sub for that time, and then you just be done with it. But if they're, like Byron mentioned before, if there are serious health conditions with the child that is born, then the employer cannot affect that intermittent leave, the coming and going.
Yeah, what I found is that it must be taken in a continuous block, that 12 weeks. But like kind of Jack, you were saying, in my case, with my son, I had it worked out with our district that, depending on the severity of it, because we didn't really know 100% until he showed up. My plan was to take like 3 or 4 days right at the start, and then with him being in the NICU, I was going to come back to work until he got to go home, and then I was going to then take the rest of my probably another like week and a half, 2 weeks from there, of FMLA. So I was going to be able to break it up just because of that serious medical condition. But fortunately, like I said, he was home after 6 days, and I didn't have to extend that or make it intermittent. So
The next one says, can the mother use followed by the father using his? Yes, it looks like they can split it up, just, because it was a normal birth. They just have 12 months combined.
12 weeks.
Or 12 weeks within, well,
12
yeah, you're
weeks,
right.
yeah, within 12 months.
Within the 12 months.
Yeah.
12 weeks within the 12 months. Say the mother wants to take, 8 weeks and the father could take 4 after, or if you want to take those 4, we talked about earlier, during the 8 weeks that the mother was taking. But yeah, and then one of the things that the FMLA select what that 12-month period is. Well, in the case of a birth, it's probably going to be from the birth going forward is that 12-month period. In other situations, when it's injury or caring for, another family member, not that birthing stage, be a calendar year, it could be a fixed year of leave. Like for instance, schools, sometimes their fiscal year might be from September to August, or the last one was a 12-month period backwards from the date that the employee first started that FMLA leave, which would be different circumstances. But of course, in this case with the birth, it'd be that 12 months going forward from that birth.
I did find it interesting too, and some of what I was finding about it was like the employee must give like a 30-day advance notice, or if it's like something that happens right like an immediate, like someone's injured in a car accident and you have to take that immediate action. It's like it just says that the employee must talk to the employer and give them as much notice as possible. And another interesting thing was, not sure if it applies completely, but it talked about how you had to have worked for that employer for at least 12 months in order to take FMLA, or it was like 1,200 hours over a 12-month period or something like that.
I think it's 1,250 hours.
Yeah.
I remember reading that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
think we covered everything, didn't we?
Yeah, Jack, I didn't know if we wanted to talk anymore, like you mentioned before we started recording, about, kind of the eyes of the administrator, or, if we were looking at this through the eyes of an administrator, kind of if there's anything we would want to do to, support or, kind of help guide those to, not only do what's best for the parents that are taking this leave, but also look out for our students as well.
Right.
Case.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just making a comment, the saying that it's case by case. I mean, everybody's just so different.
Yeah.
So having that flexibility.
Yeah, because I was reading about it on some website. I can't remember where I was, but that's what made me think of it, because it said administration wants to keep that good relationship with their staff, obviously, but at the same time, the students are affected when long leaves are taken. So that just put that thought in my head. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah. And hopefully in this case, both parents are not at the same school.
Yeah.
So that would be a difficult. One of my coworkers, him and his wife had twins right at the end of the school year. And so he was out for the last 2.5 weeks of school, and she was out prior to that before. That kind of sparked something. In what I was reading, there was a point about if let's say the mother has to go on bed rest for medical reasons, that doesn't impact her 12 weeks of FMLA at that point in time, which I found that kind of interesting, but I also thought it was a good thing there with allowing the mother to then have that and father to have that full 12 weeks to bond with their child instead of almost being punished for having to go on bed rest or being unable to work due to the pregnancy.
And one other thing that, we failed to mention earlier was the date that the question came up was delivered on April 27th. So for, in the profession that we're in, not that there's perfect time or anything that, give birth to a child, but April 27th, you only have a couple more weeks till, summer break. So that might, affect the mother and father's decision on how much or if they're going to do it simultaneously, or if they're going to, wait and take some of that when they come back the following after summer break. So that April 27th just kind of jumped out to me because, maybe, father might just stick it out for the rest of the school year, and then he'll have that time over the summer to bond with the child, and maybe mom's just taking that FMLA until the end of the school year, and then seeing what they do with that, or if they even do it, because, something that we didn't talk about a lot was, it's unpaid as well. So
Mhm.
you might not, if you have that summer break, you might not want to take all 12 weeks, or it might not be something that, is best. And like Claudia said, case by case. So it might not be best for your family to, take all that 12 weeks. If you don't feel like it's necessary, if you get that 2.5 months over the summer to do that bonding with your child.
It's a great
telling any
point.
parent to do one thing or the other.
Mhm.
But like Claudia said, case by case.
Yeah, that's also interesting, Phil. So they could take that whole summer, but then whatever remaining, I mean, if April 27th, they probably would have used 2-3 weeks
Yeah.
before the summer, so they could take that 9 when summer's over.
Mhm.
Is that what you think?
Yeah,
Yeah, because it'd be within that 12-month period to take that 12 weeks. So
and it's that continuous block because of when your work contract is
Yeah, your
actually in
contract
place.
days.
Yeah.
That's
So-
interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't really think about that.
Mhm. Well, think about it too with like the FMLA, like Phil said, it's unpaid. I
Yeah.
remember like how many people who are in this situation are just using their paid sick days.
That's what I did when my child was born. I
Well,
didn't take any FMLA. I took my paid sick days, and
That was it.
mom was home with son, and that's how we did it. And like I said, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Whatever works best for
Mhm.
your family.
And I
Mhm.
think even in the district, like they don't offer you like a maternity pay. I think you just use all of your sick time.
Yep.
I have 3 children. I didn't have them when I was in the district. As a teacher, I was an employee, and mine was completely different. It was just hourly based, but yeah. Mm-mm. Not
And
paid
that's
for.
probably district policy and different with every district too, because, I've been in districts where, some of these older teachers with these bank sick days are trying to, give some of their sick days away to some of these younger teachers. And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of districts don't let that happen, but there might be some that would.
Or
In
even
our
spouse to
district, we do
spouse.
two days.
Yeah, like my coworker at Twins, he had banked over like 85 days, and his wife was out of sick days, and he's like, you're gonna pay me for these anyway.
Yeah.
Can't I just give them to my wife instead of basically docking her pay or not paying her for those days that she didn't have sick time? And district's like, nope, not doing
Oh,
it.
man.
It's I mean, it evens itself out, but it
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, especially spouse to spouse.
Yeah.
They have the sick banks, but it's like 2 days per person that you can give up
Mhm.
here in our district.
Oh, that's nice.
Really?
Yeah, because the end of the year, they'll start asking you if we want to give to like the sick bank for people who need to take leave, whether it's, pregnancies, whether it's other sicknesses. We've
That's
had
cool.
a couple employees that have had like cancer and stuff.
That's
But-
pretty cool. It's a smaller district though, right, Claudia?
Mm,
Ish. Oh, it's class B, isn't it?
I'm not 100%
South
sure.
Sioux.
I'm in Sioux City. So
Yeah.
Sioux City is a lot bigger than South Sioux.
Okay, I got you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Oh, so you're on the Iowa side then?
I'm on the Iowa side.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in Sioux City. So our district's,
Gotcha.
I mean, it's pretty big. We have about
Gotcha.
1,500 students just at North.
Jeez. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, awesome. Anything else, guys? Gal?
no, the only other thing I had was, if ever a question about any of this FMLA stuff, like you said, Byron, you just Googled it. If you go to that Department of Labor website, they not only give you pretty cut and dry information, but each one they kind of give an example or a couple of examples for. Like
Mhm.
we ran across this.
We can't hear you there, Phil.
It didn't have to do with it didn't have to do with teachers necessarily, but it did talk about a similar situation, not exactly the same, but just kind of nice to see some of these examples laid out. And I thought that Department of Labor website did a good job of, giving some specific examples that at least might guide you in the right direction on some of the things you're looking for.
Mhm.
And speaking with your HR department, like as an admin, when teachers do bring that to you, like I know my admin was very good about, hey, this is who you need to contact at HR about taking FMLA. I know your circumstance is different, but talk to them. They'll be able to walk you through all the paperwork, everything you need to fill out for when that happens. So it's a good point of reference. That's what they get paid to do, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna
that's
go
all I
ahead.
have.
All right.